Hello, my name is Jess from Awkward Talks, and I'm here with my accomplice over yonder.
Name's Oliver. Um, First interview on the channel, so I'm pretty psyched, honestly. And now we get to pass it back down all the way again.
You just one microphone, yeah. So we are here today with a very cool guest, special guest. We got willing hands. Let's go around and introduce ourselves.
I am Brandon. I play I guess lead guitar. I don't know. I'm just gonna say guitar. I don't know. You also play some lead, so I'm just gonna say guitar.
I'm Clarissa. I do vocals and willing hands.
I am Trice. I do guitar and willing hands.
You guys also have two other members. Do you want to talk about them and like what they play in the band?
Our bassist Jack and our drummer Riley are not here with us currently. Um, yeah,
But we love them and we
yeah, we love them and we miss them.
So, really, kind of just to start it off, that Mikey Zero shirt, the Mikey Zero shirt. I did it. The Mikey's Euro show. That was fucking sick. I really liked everything about that set. Did you guys basically play that your whole album just right there?
And then I think we did an encore, did we?
Yeah.
yeah we did.
Who Made You God? I think, yeah. Yep.
Played the whole album. Was that the second time we played the full album on the tour?
Yeah, I think so.
Because the first time was in Spokane
Yeah.
on the kickoff show. And that was also our first time playing Moscow.
Yep.
Hell yeah. That's sick. Really sick, by the way. So with kind of how that show went, I do have to ask, like, is it tiring just to play that whole, was it like super tiring to play that whole album just right there?
I mean, it probably depends who you ask. I think for Clarissa, that's probably who I would ask first because I would imagine just going straight through is probably a lot on the vocal cords.
I'm like watching so that I don't actually. Um, I would say physically yes, emotionally yes.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's a lot more tiring for Riley than it is me.
Yeah, I imagine for Riley it's also tiring. Uh, but yeah, I think when we first started out we were doing like 12-minute sets because we were just playing the EP, and then as we wrote new songs, so now that we're playing the album's 35 minutes, and so now we're playing like a 37, 40-minute set some nights. Uh, it's yeah, but we make it through it.
We play pretty hard too. So like, I mean, everyone is always like pretty sweaty and tired by the time we're done. Um, 40 minutes is just a long time to be up there, honestly. But that's like my favorite set that we've done is just doing the album all the way through.
Yeah, and that's actually like super fitting because in the recordings, the actual album, it kind of all ties together. How did the production go like with that? Did you guys like play it all the way through, like kind of like a more bare bones version of each song and like fixed or made it prettier, or did you guys just fix like made it all kind of connect together post?
Yeah, I can take this one. Yeah, so our process was um almost like every song kind of started with someone had like a riff or a few riffs, or there's like a couple that started with like one or two riffs that someone wrote and then brought to the band, and then we kind of developed it. And then there's a few that we just wrote like all together. And then there are a few where it happened like a little bit more, like at home or whatever. But as far as the production goes, uh, the plan that we kind of did was we created like demos that we like kept to ourselves and did like internally, and like demoed everything out to like a click track, which was like a really good way to practice before recording so that we could get really good recording takes, and then also to and then also to like be able to easily identify spots that were a problem or that could improve, because like even though we were like recording at home, it was definitely like good enough to hear like what needed to change and like kind of what direction we wanted to go with everything. I'll let Clarissa talk about her experience with writing vocals a little bit though.
The recording process, yeah, so I recorded all the vocals in 2 sessions. Um, as far as like going to the studio, some of them I recorded at home, but yeah, I kind of just recorded it in order, over in Pasco, and then once we got those versions of the songs back, there were some parts where I was like, I kind of want to layer something over here or add something wholly like completely new into sections that I didn't have like solid ideas for. Um, so for those, I just recorded them at home, with my own setup, and then uh, yeah, we just sent those to Dave, at Thunderdome, and kind of put the whole thing together. And as far as like the featured vocals, we yeah, we just went up to Inez and Easton's place, or Inez and Braden's place, up in Spokane, and Easton came over from Been Out of Shape, and that was done in like one day for uh Easton and Inez, and then Braden was a separate day. We did Braden's first, but yeah, again, just use the same setup that I used for my home vocals essentially, and just put it all together.
A lot of the guitar recording specifically was done at our own homes. All of Brandon's takes were done at his house. A lot of my takes were also done at my house, and essentially just made up a lot of like DI takes that we could like use and send to Dave. Um, Jack also recorded most of his bass tracks at home, I believe, and those were also sent with. We did our drum recording through Dave's studio, and yeah, it was a really good experience getting to just be around Dave. He's super positive, and he's just really nice to work with in general.
Yeah.
And shout out to Riley because he's not here, but he really pulled through in the sessions and he kicked ass. Can I swear?
Yeah, go for it.
Fuck yeah! Thank you.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna add one thing. So like just as like a macro level of how the like recording process went. Basically like we came up with those demos, and then like we use those as a way to like practice all of the songs, and then what we did was we went into the Thunderdome studios where we like tracked together. Like we played everything live with Riley, so that Riley could get like the best like live drum performance. And then after that, that was like when Dave sent us those drum tracks, and then we went home and then tracked everything against like the click, and then like Trice was saying, Dave is awesome, and he kind of let us have like a lot of creative freedom. So we did like a lot of the like guitar mixing and stuff kind of on our own, and then he just sort of worked with what we sent him. And then he like the drums on that, like the way he made the made the drum sound. They're just like absolutely like gigantic, and like the way that everything blends together. He just did an amazing job. So shout out to Dave.
I wanted to also add that, so for the lyrics for the album, um, I didn't actually show anybody else in the band the final drafts for the lyrics until we went in to record the drums, because if I wanted it to like, I wanted everybody to kind of like absorb what the songs were about and kind of bring that into recording, so that it was the emotion was, coming from everybody.
That kind of tied into my question. Like with the new album, I kind of wanted to see your own, like each of your guys' individual views on like your songs and how that ties into your, like you emotionally, kind of like what you just mentioned. Like which song kind of ties into you, or what part did you find most resembling to you throughout making this album?
I gotta think about this one. Sorry.
This is a good, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't involved in the lyric writing other than the section that I sung at the end of Atomic Heart. I think my journey with this band has kind of been unique because I had not played in a like metal band of any form before joining Willing Hands like a little over a year ago. Um, so I think that like Atomic Heart is a really good representation of kind of where my like background in other genres kind of like is coming through because I wrote a lot of the riffs in that and just kind of like the way the song progresses um and it just kind of means a lot to me and I think that like again like we had already written the instrumentation and like before we had like read the lyrics and stuff but like um the impact like that was such a good idea because I think like the impact of just like feeling everything was really crazy for me and I think for all of us.
And I can't take complete like credit for that idea. I think Ross Robinson does that with um bands that he produces, that he has the vocalist come and read the lyrics out loud, and everybody kind of talks about how, the song makes them feel, so that they can kind of, like what I said, is bring that emotion into the recording. Um, and yeah, I think for me, yeah, the subject matter and everything, and just definitely the most like vulnerable writing I've ever done. Um, it definitely felt strange to not necessarily talk about political things, because of the EP before was very like, it was halfway political, halfway like personal, and that's kind of how I've always written. So having something completely personal feels very just like raw to me. Um, but yeah.
For a lot of the writing on the album, I didn't really have any specific like thoughts for like riffs and such like that. Um, but like a lot of the I like to think that a lot of it channels um just want for change mostly. Want for like something to be different than it is. Um, and it's kind of hard for me to put that into my own words because I'm generally not super talkative, but I think I like to think that a lot of the stuff that we have written both together and on our own is resemblant of that.
Going forward, do you guys think you'll continue that process of kind of waiting to show the lyrics and going through the motions? Do you think you'll continue that moving forward with the band?
Yeah, I think so. I think that for the next album or EP or whatever we write, it's probably going to be less personal, because I feel like, okay, we've done something personal now, so now we there's a lot of political things to talk about. Um, so I think that there'll still be the impact. It just might be a different kind of emotion. Uh, that's all I can really say.
Did see that one interview that you guys had with who was it? It was
The Idiotech.
yeah. And you kind of mentioned like the album, like the subject matter, going through abuse, like you were saying, wanting to change and everything, and kind of like looking through the like the lyrics and having that outlet kind of through those songs. It's when I was there for that Mikey Zero show, it wasn't just like the cool thing about it was it didn't feel just like, oh, angry metal. It felt like it came from the soul, and especially when you guys played um the last song, Atomic Heart. Um that like just I mean like that end, like it just felt so it felt like if it was like a a ribbon on a present, you just finally tied it up. And it wrapped everything together so nicely in the way it just flows. It's like this cycle. Um, and that's it's whether it was like a conscious or unconscious decision or subconscious decision to kind of have something like that. It really does show like emotion through that whole album, and it really is like kind of beautiful in a sense. I would say it's just like kind of like listening to it. I've been listening to it a lot, but it's just it's mesmerizing, I guess you could say, and that's really cool what you guys made, and it's really interesting to kind of see having like the vulnerable side in the in that kind of music, uh, like sonically. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
nice. To that too. Um, yeah, as far as like the vulnerable side of heavy music, I think that like that's one of the reasons why I tend to like generally more vulnerable music, and especially like the more like hardcore side of things, because of it's more so talking about, you know, um political awareness and political issues, and a lot of it is personal. And I think that sometimes like there's some heavy bands that like more so in the metal side of things that is just kind of like blood and guts. And I think that there are some bands like in that side of things that are starting to branch into more personal aspects of themselves. And uh I hope that, we just keep seeing more of that.
yeah. I did talk about that with like Lazarus. It just feels like everyone's kind of not really making music for themselves, and that's what I think. Like that's what music mainly is. It's for the self, and this album is a really great representation of that. But yeah, moving on now. What were your guys' like favorite moments from the tour?
Two members of the band, or sorry, not Willing Hands, but Penis Envy, the other band that we were touring with, that Clarissa is also in, ate the lettuce.
I don't know
And
if that was confirmed that they ate the.
oh yeah, okay. Maybe yeah, I should say that. I'll just say like they definitely had some sort of food poisoning, and we ended up having to do the classic. They had to do the classic last minute show cancellation because they like one of them literally had to like go to the ER. Like it was um he like healed up like pretty quick like after the ER visit, but um that was kind of a whole thing. I mean, there was like one of our hotel rooms, like we like had a hotel room booked, and then we showed up like at like 2:30 in the morning or something, and then like we got there and they told us that they canceled it or something like that. And then we tried to sleep in the car, and then after like 40 minutes just started driving. um there were a lot more things too.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that yeah, our hotel got canceled in Butte because we played Missoula, and we were like, let's drive a couple hours. And well, we had to drive a couple hours because of the same day we played our show, Post Malone and Jelly Roll were playing in Missoula. So every single hotel, plus all the fires going on, like everything was just booked to hell. So we had to get a hotel that was 2 hours outside of Missoula in Butte. And yeah, we got there. They had canceled it or something, and so we didn't have anywhere to stay, and so we were gonna sleep in the car. And yeah, and then Blair's the drummer in Penis Envy. We kind of just like fuck it, like let's just drive to Utah, because of it was by then it was like 4 a.m. or at least that's what it felt like. I don't know for sure, but yeah, we drove there and just took turns, and yeah, we made it to Utah because of that. But yeah, otherwise I don't. Thankfully, nothing like too crazy happened during tour. There was a lot of like really funny things, or like we kind of almost created our own language on the ride over of like all the inside jokes that just like very much like you just had to be there kind of thing. Like it just because of all of it just was just complete brain rot. Uh, but yeah, nothing really too crazy happened, thankfully. We were very lucky in that regard that like nothing that the biggest mishap was that we didn't have a hotel, and that's like, standard. for a lot of people that are in bands that you end up having to sleep in the car. So we were very lucky.
I just want to give a shout out to Lee. It's real important that I do that. Um, may I get the question again as well? The best things on. Oh wait,
Specifically, Lee from KRFP. We shout out him. We shout out Lee from KRFP.
Lee. Um,
Shout out Lee.
shout out Lee. Um, but honestly, probably the most notable thing or at least I felt, was just having like a very intense, strong feel of community throughout the entire thing. Having people show up, it was kind of surreal to experience that and to just like see that people are willing to go out to shows. It's just really cool.
No, that kind of ties into my question, like with community. What was your favorite community or place that you stopped at during the tour? Like where you were?
I'm gonna need that. Do you have anything, Brandon?
I mean, honestly, I'm not just saying this. Moscow was like by far one of my favorite shows. Because I like live in Pullman. I wasn't born there, but I like went to college there and I live there and work there now and have for a while. And I had like we'd never played a show in Moscow or anything. So I was like, shoot, like I don't know if anyone's gonna like show up. Like it's a Monday night, but like it like packed in and people were like so excited to be there, and it was just like an insanely high energy show. And like all of the bands that played like just absolutely killed it. And I mean there were like several nights that I could easily say was my favorite, but I think that one is definitely worth bringing up. So it was cool to see that there's people here that are excited about music and excited about our excited about our music. So
Yeah, I kind of have a couple. Definitely Moscow was awesome because of like I said before we really started the interview, I used to do vocals in the band Nine Denials, and so I have played Mikey's quite a bit, and with Penis Envy playing bass for them, I've also played Mikey's a few times. Um, and that was by far like the most packed and like craziest Mikey show that I've ever been a part of. Um, and yeah, it was just a really wholesome experience. But I think also just like community wise, like we didn't do our best performance in Utah because of we were missing our bassist because he had to go to school. But and my voice was like starting to die by that point. But just like we really connected with that community and we had a day off after that show and we stayed and we went to see Corpse Pile play. And so a lot of the people that played in the bands the night before were there, and so it was just like, it was a really just like wholesome experience of getting to know that community, and they're just very welcoming there. Like we didn't really know what to expect. I haven't really been to Utah besides being in the airport, so to actually be there somewhere that's like brand new to me, and there's people that like know our friends and you know uh like our music, it was a really awesome experience.
I hate to be repetitious, but Moscow was also my favorite show. It's really hard for me not to say that just because one, my mom was there, so I kind of have to say it was my favorite show. I'm joking. I'm joking. But um it's kind of just crazy to see people like show out like that on a weekday, especially for like, I don't know. I it felt very good to be able to play something and play a show to people who are down for it and are able to play nicely with each other. I think Connor mentioned it at the show, but there was a lot of like a mixture of like push moshing as well as hardcore, more hardcore moshing, and it wasn't getting out of like hand either way, which was also really nice to see. It was like a unification of all things that are important in the world.
Honestly, I think it's pretty cool for the Moscow shows. Like, I haven't gone to very many shows. I'm kind of like new in the scene because Jesse's been showing me to it. But I totally agree with the Moscow being a good community, including like when it was my very first show. I was so welcoming. Like, even just showing up, everyone's like, dude, you're sick. Let me show you around. Here's some like recommendations. Like it's just such a cool community to be part of. So I'm glad you guys kind of liked playing the shows here.
I do have to add on. Yes, that Moscow show was crazy. Yeah, crowd surfing, the man bun dude jumping off the fucking mic. What was it? The fucking yeah. The it was a good show. It was hectic indeed, but in like a good way. But yeah, like I think that was like the show that I felt like most connected with like within the scene. Um, just because everyone was just there. I felt like everyone that I like one that I knew, like I was kind of getting out of my shell, because I'm with other geeks and like-minded people, Um, but like yeah, like just around here is just good shows that have that sense of community, and that's what I really like about this scene. Um, so yeah, what do we? Give me a second here. Uh, sorry guys, I'm having a brain fart right now. All this is gonna get fixed in post. So, okay, yeah, go for
This one topic. But out of the band, who do you think you'd be if you were a fictional character?
Can I just say Michael Cera? Michael Cera isn't real. Everyone knows that.
Are there limitations to this?
No, no limitations. Go wild. Like I want to hear the craziest things. Like what do you even your band members, what do you picture them as?
I feel like Brandon would probably be somebody from Phineas and Ferb.
Oh shoot.
Um,
Okay.
uh, I feel like Jack would probably be normal from Garfield.
Yeah, I like
Uh, I don't know about anybody else. I'm still thinking about my own.
that. Give me the mic. Hmm. Hmm. I'm just gonna say that Jack and Riley would both be Meatwad because I don't know what to say. Meatwad is just like a recurring TV character that just pops up in jokes for no reason. That's the only reason I say that.
We all are the boys.
Yeah. One of our first demos was called Meatwad Sex Tape. So that there's just like recurring characters that we talk about a lot, and that's like one of them. But I don't know. I honestly, it's so hard because I don't know. I feel like Jack and Riley should do their own. I don't know. I feel like Trice has some. Trice probably has.
I'm that one nonverbal hyena from Lion King. The one that just kind of like sits over there and it's like, "Nah." I don't really have any ideas for anyone else, to be honest. Uh,
We can come back to this.
Brandon, sometimes I think of you as like a cat-like creature, but that's just because like you kind of like,
Jack, but I think it's
yeah,
because
yeah.
Jack's just Jack just has like a very like exciting personality that
Mm.
reminds me of like a higher energy cat sometimes, I guess. There you go.
That just ties into. I did have one question. Okay, so I did want to ask this, like, because all the media references, because you got what was it? I think Donnie Darko in the first one, then Edge Runners, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Godin. So that was when I first heard that, bro. Oh my god, it filled me up. I fucking love that show. I was. Yeah, and then what else? I feel like there's one more. There's probably a couple more that I didn't pick up on. Is there like, does that tie in with anything like within kind of the um whole like premise of the album?
That's a question for sure.
Yeah, so I think in like a lot of hardcore culture, it's a lot of like this next song is about this, and we kind of were like, what if instead of doing that, we played a sample that kind of alluded to that, what the song is about, and um yeah, and so a lot of like me in general, just like throughout music, um, I'm very like into like a lot of like cyberpunk like aesthetics and a lot of cyberpunk media and the actual cyberpunk universe itself. And so I use a lot of that influence in music, and I feel like just in general having the samples there, um, I don't think it was executed perfectly on the EP, but more so on the album. Um, I wanted it to feel like immersive in that idea of like I said, basically that this is what the song is about, and or at least like alluding to it. Um, because we did have a song on the EP called Black Lotus that comes from the from Blade Runner, but then the sample is Ghost in the Shell. And it's kind of talking about the same kind of thing that um yeah, just talk about replicants essentially. But as far as the album itself, um we ended the EP with a Donnie Darko sample on the song Donnie Darko type beat, and then we started the album with a Donnie Darko sample. And I feel like the samples come from the same scene, and um, it's just kind of talking about like him feeling alone, and I feel like that's kind of like a a very like deep feeling throughout the album is feeling like in the situations I'm talking about that, I felt alone in a lot of these things. Even if you're like not physically alone, you feel, emotionally alone in a lot of situations. And yeah, basically like it's media that I personally like and that we all personally like. And we wanted to pull from that. Uh, because of I guess it's like having influences outside of music that influence your music.
One other thing that I think is just I was going to bring up just based off what we were talking about is if you can't tell, we're literally all nerds. Like all five of us, like we were hitting like card shops looking at Pokemon cards and shit like the whole time, and like we're literally all nerds. So anything you want to add to that, Tris?
I'm a nerd. No, you got that right.
Tris like I'm not a freaking nerd.
But, yeah.
Let's see. Trying to think of another question. Maybe going back more into like about the band. How did you guys kind of get together, or what was your inspiration behind the band? Because I know you guys have talked about being in other bands before, or playing with other bands. So kind of what was your inspiration behind this one?
I can kind of talk about that too. Yeah, so our drummer Riley, he was also in a band called Induced Psychosis. I guess we haven't really talked about that yet. That a lot of the Willing Hands has roots actually in this area because of I was in Nine Denials at the time, and Riley was in a band called Induced Psychosis that had kind of just broken up, and I'd heard from the guitarist Elric from Penis Envy that Riley was trying to start a hardcore band, and that he asked Elric to play guitar in it, and Elric's like, "Oh, I don't really have time right now." Elric ended up playing bass and Willing Hands on the EP anyway, because of we asked him to. Um, and yeah, I just kind of messaged Riley and I was like, "Hey, I heard you want to start a hardcore band," and we just kind of found members from there, and it kind of like expanded past like hardcore for sure. We definitely like started out like more like mathcore and screamo, and then um after we did the EP, I felt like, and like for a lot of bands, I feel like your first release and your first songs, you have these ideas that are not fully fleshed out because you're still kind of figuring things out. And we kind of looked at it like, okay, we have these like heavy metalcore, mathcore breakdowns, and then we have these screamo parts. And so, like, what if we took the heavy parts and we took the melodic parts and we kind of went all the way, both ways? Um, and that's kind of how we just kind of got to play more metalcore, like almost unintentionally. Um, and yeah, we ended up adding a couple new members, and I think Brandon can talk about that.
I was a new member in Willing Hands. I guess I'm no longer a new member since I've been here for about a year. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much got into the band because Clarissa had asked me to produce the first EP. So I kind of got into it as a result of that process, and then I think Elric wasn't able to make a show that we um that y'all were playing in Coeur d'Alene at the we did like a pop-up skate park show, and so I like subbed in for Elric from that, and then I was like, oh fuck, this is actually really fun. And then so ended up joining the band, and then Jack at pretty much about exactly the same time started as our new bass player. Jack like saw Willing Hands and then like messaged and asked if we were looking or like what was the
Yeah, so Elric let us know that he was going to be parting ways because of he originally stated that he had school, that he had to finish his degree and really only had time for one band. And yeah, so we ended up putting out like a story post on Instagram that we're looking for a new bass player, and we got some replies. And uh, Jack was definitely the most driven and just seemed like the right person. And so he sent us some videos of him playing the songs, just learning them off of ear. And yeah, he just kind of was the right person, right time. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Not really, to be honest.
love you, Jack. Jack is a sick bass player. Just want to throw
Free
that out
Jack.
there. Yeah, free Jack.
But I was just gonna ask, like, do you guys do anything before shows? Like, do you guys meditate? Do you hype yourself up? Like, what's usually your thought process? What do you do before show?
I drink so much water that I become sick and bloated, and then I don't drink water, and then by the time I get up on stage, I'm dehydrated.
Usually I walk around really crazy and um like it's not like nervousness, it's more just like eagerness um to play. Because a lot of times if it's not like, especially if it's like we haven't played like back-to-back shows, a lot of times it's like a sneeze, like it's very pent up, like I need to play to get this out of my system kind of thing.
I'm with Clarissa on that one. Sometimes it's like just, yeah, it's like feeling it within you and just wanting to go up there and just like do it to do it. Um, Before shows, usually I'm in my car eating snacks and having a little bit of like an energy drink or just listening to other music as well. Just kind of keep myself as consistent as I can.
Actually, Riley Mosh is hard as fuck for the
Uh,
other bands, so that's worth saying, probably.
yeah.
Riley, our drummer, is not here, but shout out to Riley for his pre-show ritual, which is moshing hard as fuck for all the other bands, and looking good while doing it. So shout out to you, Riley. Miss you. Free Riley.
Free Riley.
Yeah, I was just because you always see like the band members everywhere, and like with Riley, the drummer, like seeing him like go down like crazy, dude. Like it's always sick to see that, and just you know, it's always interesting kind of just to hear about it. Like coming from bands, just because you don't know what's going through, like you don't normally know what's going through their mind before. You just know what's gonna happen. Like, oh, they're just gonna, yeah, you know. I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but but
For me, like the more that I've played, the not necessarily easier, but the less stressful it's gotten. Like I'd be like so nervy, like my first like 10 shows or so, and now it's like I can at least not have that level of like anxiety before playing, which is nice just through. I think tour definitely helped with that too. Like by the end of tour, it was just like I'm here and I'm gonna play a show and I'm excited about it. But that's just me.
yeah, yeah. But it's just so I don't know because I feel like hyping yourself up for these kinds of shows. I mean, I guess it kind of depends, varies person to person. I mean, for me, definitely not. But like, when it comes to like music, it kind of depends on where your headspace is at, like right before it, because one, you're performing, but also just like what you're performing too. Kind of depends. So,
I think it
yeah,
helps when the bands that are playing before you are fucking sick too. Like that, like in Moscow, like all of those bands were like so fucking sick. And so like I was just like so like energized by the time we got up there because I was just like pumped from all the music I'd listened to already.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just interesting to kind of hear your guys' processes, whether it be snacking or walking crazy. I mean, I guess it does vary person to person. So it's not like a combined thing. I mean, oh yeah, definitely not.
Jack,
Definitely not.
Jack and I both like are bad about eating before shows. So like the last few we've done, we've been like good about like reminding each other to like make sure that we eat food and stuff. Because it's like it's so easy to just forget sometimes. Even if I'm not doing anything, I still forget sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like I'd pass out if I didn't eat something before a show. So,
No, I think I agree with you though. Like how it's kind of cool to see what you guys do before your shows, including like it's like you're doing something so passionate to yourselves, including putting yourself out there. I'm trying to think of like a good question kind of on the topic. Minus playing, what's your favorite thing to do at shows? Like just any show overall, minus like being up there and playing, what do you think your favorite thing is to do while you're there? Like could it be the traveling, meeting people, kind of just like I might have worded that a bit weird.
It's okay. Um, I love seeing new music. It's a gift upon my soul. So anytime that for the entirety of the tour, it's really just been like the best to just see bands that I don't know, especially smaller local scene bands that are pushing the envelope and like playing there, and it's just really cool. Um, Watching those bands play is like really really cool. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I think definitely like discovering new music, uh, and just meeting new people. And I think like kind of like what we talked about earlier with our favorite place to stop. Like you go to places that you normally wouldn't go to or places you haven't been before. And it's just kind of this whole new experience in general of just like understanding the like differences between scenes and how things, are just generally different between the cultures of towns. And yeah, I think like if it's not a show I'm personally playing, um, just like I said before, discovering new music, meeting people. But if it is a show that I'm personally playing, meeting people that, you know, um, connect to what our music is about, or just flat out enjoy it is always really awesome. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, kind of same thing. Like I was really inspired by a lot of the bands that we got to see on the road that I had never heard before. I definitely am not like a huge mosher. I'm definitely like be towards the back with my arms crossed, look like I'm not having a good time, even though it's like the coolest shit I've ever heard in my life, sort of thing. But like that's why I'm there though. Like if it's especially if it's a show that I'm not playing, like I'm just there to for music, and I really love going to shows for like bands that I haven't heard of, and also like from like genres that I like don't normally listen to even. I think it's just really cool to have um I like to like try and widen like my musical palette as much as I can. So shows that like help me do that are always fun.
speaking of inspirations, Growing up, like, would you guys say that, like, growing up, like, listening to music, do you think that your music taste back then kind of shaped what you guys play now?
I got a lot to say about it, so I'm gonna for this. Okay, first.
Um, I guess maybe like sort of like I feel like as far as what I like write for Willing Hands, I feel like a lot of my earlier inspirations are like still there. I definitely was slower to get into like heavier music, but like I think in like the sixth grade, like my two favorite bands were Deftones and the Mars Volta. So I was like getting there from like a fairly young age. And I think that uh, it's just kind of been like I've just been widening my palette and just picking up more and more like influences along the way until I kind of got to where I am now and playing in Willing Hands and also doing stuff in some other genres and I don't know, music is music and it's great.
Talking about inspirations, um, generally for a lot of like what kind of inspired me while writing was trying to branch out as well as try new things whilst keeping my own like play the riffs how I like think they should be in my own head whilst also still keeping that like I want to do something new, but um yeah, um a lot of my own inspiration just comes from like learning a lot of different types of metal and trying to like really enjoy all of it that I can. Besides that, I honestly don't really have a whole lot to say on it.
So yeah, growing up, my like two main favorite bands, I kind of had normie taste, so to speak, because of it was Nirvana and Rage Against the Machine, and um, I think that through both of those bands, I wanted to find out like what were they influenced by, and you know, it just happened to be that both of those bands were influenced by or were members previously of hardcore bands, and so I found two very different kinds of hardcore through the kind of like the 80s hardcore that inspired Nirvana, and then like kind of like the California like metallic hardcore that influenced Rage Against the Machine, and their vocalist was previously in a hardcore band called Inside Out. That we covered their song No Spiritual Surrender for a little bit. Um, and yeah, I think that like looking at those two kind of roots, you see like Nirvana talking kind of cryptically about, emotional things and his own experience in the world and kind of like judgment of others, whether it's good or bad. And then Rage Against the Machine obviously being a lot more political and even Inside Out being political. Uh, I feel like that maybe not stylistically, but like from ethics, I think that, you know, both those bands were political in their own ways, but I think it's kind of like those two paths are kind of like how I approach music is this either personal or it's political. Um, and yeah, both those paths led to heavy music, and um, this is, I guess, the result of it.
I should also shout out Clarissa because when we worked together a while back, she was the one that like got me into like some of the more extreme stuff. I think that kind of led to where I am now. So thanks for all those recommendations.
I got that too. I think um, one of the things that I think was really cool about adding Brandon to the band, like he just said, I got him into a lot of the heavy music, and so like I grew up listening to a lot of like heavy and extreme music. I was a complete like nerd, like staying up late downloading obscure bands off of like SoulSeek and like getting into a lot of like the old like original screamo stuff. But like that's kind of off topic. But he Brandon not growing up listening to heavy music as much. I think that he approaches things differently, and so it's like approaching heavy music from the perspective of somebody that um enjoys heavy music but has roots outside of that. I think really gives our band a unique sound.
Just like more curious about that. Like background wise, like before Willing Hands, like what kind of music were you playing or more interested in?
Yeah, so I have another band. We haven't put anything out in a while, but I have another band called Space Club that's like, it's like kind of like sleazy, like dancey stoner rock, I guess. I don't know. Like, what genre would you say it is, Clarissa? I don't know.
It's like kind of like post-punk.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really like funky.
Yeah, so I sing and play guitar in that project. And there's like, yeah, I think that a lot of the influence there kind of comes from kind of like stoner metal, some like desert rock. I also listen to like a fuck ton of hip hop also, which I feel like influences a lot of what I do as well. But yeah, I just listened to like a lot of rock bands growing up, and like especially from like the era of like kind of like the like Incubus era, like Incubus, Audio Slave, and like going back into like some more like I guess classic rock, although I'm like kind of picky about that nowadays. And then yeah, I also listen to like a fuck ton of indie and stuff like that too. So I always hate it when people are like, "Oh, I listen to everything or whatever," and that's basically what I'm saying right now. I don't listen to country. We'll get that out there. Uh, we'll just get that out there. But yeah, I mean, there's like so many bands that I could list. If you wanted like my favorite band in this is actually a funny thing. We like realized that somehow like all of us are connected to the band Alter Bridge in some way randomly. And that like happens to be like that was like my favorite band in high school. Because just some of the riffs are pretty sick, and they've got some they're like one of the better hard rock bands. Um Anyway, anyone else want to add on to that? Anyone want to talk about Alter Bridge lore?
I can talk about some Alter Bridge lore. So yeah, there is a little bit of Alter Bridge lore. I use the SE Electronics V7 microphone, and that is the one that Miles Kennedy also uses, and Brandon uses the Mark Tremonti 15 guitar head. So that, like from a gear standpoint, we're using like their signature gear. But then like going further back, so I got my first electric guitar from my older sister, and I grew up in Spokane, and where Miles Kennedy is from, and Miles Kennedy was actually her guitar teacher. Um, and yeah, she learned guitar on the first guitar that she gave me. So that's a deep cut.
I have no
You have
Alter
anything
Bridge.
to say about
No,
Alter Bridge?
Yeah.
nothing about Alter Bridge.
It's a great drum part.
I don't know whose turn it is.
No, I insist. I insist.
What's kind of the biggest challenge you face with local bands? Oh, so this is either gonna be really good or really bad.
There's things that I can't say in this interview. I can tell you that because it wouldn't be professional.
We're a very professional musical group.
I think that one of the things that a lot of bands just no matter what scene it is, and this is like not trying to toot our own horns or anything, but I feel like when you're a band that sounds different and you can't necessarily be put into a box, like you could say we're metalcore, or you can say that we're like I don't know, post-hardcore or that we're hardcore or whatever. Um, but I feel like there's so many different influences there, and the sound is what it is that it's kind of harder to put us into a box that we find that sometimes on like hardcore bills we kind of feel like the odd one out. Um, and then on like not hardcore bills we still kind of feel like we're the hardcore band of the bill. And so I think that when you're a band that's different in general, it's just that you feel like it's hard to find your place. And I think that slowly people are catching on kind of in the hardcore scene. Uh, and I think that, you know, in a way we kind of have cultivated our own like fan base of people that maybe not necessarily always are into hardcore or heavy music. Uh, and I think that that's, what matters at the end of the day is that we're connecting with people. Um, but I don't know if that's necessarily like an obstacle or like a difficulty. I think that it's just like in everything, there's going to be cliques and scenes, and I think, in my honest opinion, uh, I feel like if you are, and I can be like guilty of this too, if you're just booking shows with your friends, you're not really cultivating a scene, you're cultivating a clique. And if you're not trying to put on newer, younger bands or trying to get bands from out of town that, haven't been out of town yet or barely get to play out of town, you're not really cultivating a scene, you're not really trying to make it grow. Uh, yeah. Yeah, another thing is that when sometimes in heavier music, you you get people that are not necessarily like part of the culture, and a lot of like heavier music culture can be kind of divisive. And I think that, there's bands that sneak their way in that don't have very progressive views that are sympathizers of podcasters that are no longer with us, thankfully. And those bands can fuck off, and we're not going to play shows with them.
Yeah, I mean that actually kind of feeds in. I remembered I was going to talk about is I feel like just I don't know if it's like a challenge, but just something I don't know, but with like heavier genres, I think that some people like hear the music and there's like this assumption that it's supposed to be like like masculine and like dark and evil, and you're supposed to go up and like be looking like scary and all of that. And one of my favorite things about Willing Hands is we're just, five friends that really want to play good music for people. And like I think that sometimes that like whole having to like follow like this imagery like it like there's I'm not like trying to shit on bands that do that either. But I think that that like sometimes kind of creates like a misunderstanding of what like the scene is actually about, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
I liked what you said so much. I want to add on to it. Um, I think that yeah, having bands that have a very like strong performance persona, whilst that is not necessarily a bad thing for a lot of bands, it can feed into the negative side of the scene and all of the things that can like foster these like uh, basically just like create another like hidden home for people who have bad views or poor views, but they still like the music because it kind of taps into that, you know, energy of, or it to them it seems like it does. And yeah, it's a lot more important to serve your public than to put on a big old masculine mask and try to be tough and angry.
Yeah, and I do want to add on to basically what all of you guys said is that when when I first got into heavy music, it felt like masculine and it felt like, oh, I'm gonna be I'm gonna have so much testosterone in my fucking body, blah blah blah. And like kind of getting in like into the scene and everything and seeing all sorts of different people of every aspect and every, even stages in life and just finding themselves or have found themselves, and they're all coming to these shows and it creates that sense of community because we're all people, you know and it when you're trying to play like some tough guy image, and not again, nothing wrong with like too much of that, but it does make it can fester, you know it's like a cut, like a wound, you know? If you let it fester for a little bit, you know, it's just gonna get icky. And that's especially it's been getting, I would say, kind of worse now these days. I mean, there were a couple bands that did come out that were, yeah, that were outed. I was thinking about a amulet. Fuck. No, I was thinking of fucking, what was it? Amulet or fucking. I haven't heard of them, but I wasn't until now, and I realized like, no, metalcore, some random metalcore band.
Amulet was a deathcore revival band that had a video surface of them saying slurs.
It was the band called it was called Amulet. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It just feels like as long as we have like things like this though, like being vulnerable, especially within like music and making a stand and making it really known, you you'll build that community up and you know it makes everything a lot better and a lot smoother. So
Excellent. Also, that. One thing that I keep hearing every time these bands get outed is why is it so bad? I think it's always been this bad, unfortunately, being part of this kind of music for, like half of my life now. Not necessarily like not in playing in bands, but just like going to shows and being part of the scene that it's always been this bad. It's just people are being held accountable now, which I think is good.
Thank you. And then I have a question that kind of ties into opposite of it. What have you learned from other bands, whether they're like well-known, newer bands? Like, what's something, even learning from you guys playing together as a band, what's something you've learned? Like, maybe something that grew you as a person or something that inspired you? Do you guys have anything for that one?
We were playing quite a while ago in Richland, and I think we were opening for this band named Flummox. Yeah, you know what? I think seeing them really kind of showed me that like you can have like egregious amounts of fun while performing, keep it personal, keep it yourself while still fighting for something that's important. Granted, their music is a bit more on the like they're fun. They're really fun. But it just means a lot to see people up there having as much fun as they are and like putting as much as they are into it, especially with like even like the more theater performance act of it. Granted, they're not like a theater band, but they are like pretty insane. Uh,
Shout out Flummox, free Flummox.
Uh, I don't have anything yet.
Um, I mean, I'll just say that I um I don't know how to say this without it sounding kind of conceited, but like over the last year, I feel like I have gotten way better as a musician, and it's because I have been playing with willing hands and like just like I feel like there's just like so many little aspects of playing like metal guitar that you don't learn until you have to. And so like for like the first 6 months of being in the band, I felt like I was like kind of playing catch up, figuring out how to do everything, sort of writing some stuff. And then yeah, after, just playing with everyone for so long, I, picked up on a lot of new things. And then I feel like I'm like really in it now. And so just being in the band has like definitely made me a much better musician. um and just watching getting the opportunity to watch like so many like so many good bands like over the last year that I like definitely would not have been able to see otherwise, definitely has helped me as well. Sorry, I gotta get that.
Yeah, I think just seeing a lot of really talented musicians in small bands is really inspiring, just across the board. And um, I think like my toxic trait is that like I always want to get better, and so seeing a lot of these bands, like it inspires you either like a new perspective or like it just inspires you to get better because you see something so good or somebody so talented at what they're doing that you're just like, shit, like I got homework to do, kind of thing.
That was like I still like will not for like that flummox show. Like I had just no idea how insane that was gonna be, and I was just like there was one minute where I was like, should I quit music? And then like I could never be this good. And then I like it quickly just turned into okay, no, I just need to get better. Like this is so sick. So
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's very inspirational because every time I go to a show, it's like, oh my God, I need to make music. I need to go do it. I need to go do something. And it's just I feel like it's so nice because it's new. Most of the time I haven't heard it before. Um and that's what's really nice is because it feels like I'm getting a fresh perspective on everything, as you guys were saying. I'm just kind of repeating everything, but what is music to you guys?
can I just say everything? I mean, like it's just like so much of my day is listening to music. So much of it is thinking about music. So much of it is playing it and writing it. It's just it's like literally everything um about who I am. I don't even really know how else to.
Yeah, I think I I've been into music like just as an art form, as a fan, like my entire life, like as early as I can remember. Um, so yeah, it's literally like everything, and I think like as far as like you know, I feel like the experiences you have outside of music directly affect the music that you make, as long as you're making music that is personal. And I think throughout my time, like when I wasn't making music, I look back on a lot of those experiences in that gap of time that either I learned something or those experiences or something happened that, I ended up bringing into music regardless. And I think like kind of my point as a musician is kind of taking those experiences and putting them out there and expressing them because of, like even with this new album, um, I think like kind of the point of it and the point of music in general to me is just connecting with people and getting it to resonate, putting something out there that will resonate with other people that have had similar experiences or they pull something from the music, even if they haven't had that experience, they pull something that from it that they can relate to. And I think that at the end of the day, I hope that everything I make can be cathartic in some way to somebody. So that's music to me.
Uh, I suppose music to me just kind of feels like the only thing I can do at the moment. There's a lot of shitty things going on in general, but at least we can make music with our friends and try to change our community for the better, try to use it in the best way that we can, I guess.
Honestly, I think it's so cool to hear your guys' perspectives because there's something so powerful about music that's kind of you're not able to put into words, whether it's the emotions, how it resembles to you as a person. And I think that's something super cool, including how you talked about this album kind of being a bit more personal, how it can resemble with people and how it can kind of tell a story almost.
I had something else to add on to that I think not related to necessarily like any set question, but just kind of on this topic of what music means. I think like one of the most rewarding things on the entire tour was like when we played Missoula, there was a really small crowd because we played last and everybody had left after the local openers. But there was a small amount of people left, and Missoula was one of the nights where we played the whole album from front to back. And having somebody come up to me after our set saying that, you know, because when we play the whole album, I'm usually saying like this is what it's about, this is who it goes out to, and having somebody come up to me saying they feel like they could finally get that release that they've needed. That's that's what I've always wanted. So
Oh, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, out of like all the art forms, I think like music saves lives. Like I think the power that like music has is just like has like no bounds, which is pretty neato.
Yeah, like it's truly just a beautiful thing. It's release, it's expression. Um, one might even say a window to your very soul, and it's always so weird having like those feelings during the show, or just like just feeling everything, like kind of, you know, like as you said, like this is a release, and it's very cathartic, and that's what I love about it so much is that it's it can be expressed through many forms, and it feels like I'm always discovering something new, and that's just super cool. And just seeing you guys kind of really dive into it, into something that is very new. It's expressive. It's um, I don't want to say angsty, but very. I did say mesmerizing earlier, but it's almost like hypnotizing in a weird way, where it's like it's just unique, and that's really cool to see, or especially in the local scene. So yeah, sick stuff, sick stuff. Have you guys got any final thoughts?
Do not totally chop down flock cameras. That is totally illegal and very bad. We love mass surveillance.
Totally do not chop down a flock camera. Totally do not.
Definitely don't do that.
No, don't. Don't go on deflock and find your nearest flock camera and burn that shit down.
bomb data center, dude.
Yeah, definitely not. No. Sick shit. I'm Jess. This is Willing Hands, and we're out. Woo!